Hi friends, welcome back. So is inflation done and is it now time to celebrate? Did Federal Chair Jerome Powell and the Fed finally beat inflation? And are we heading to that 2% a year that they keep talking about? I want to check out some headlines and news with you and the markets. And let's just jump right in. So this is what's going on today. Wall Street traders go all in on the great monetary pivot of 2024. So essentially the markets are thinking, you know what? We may be cutting rates because the Fed is signaling that. That's the headline. Fed signals 3 interest rate cuts for next year. So the markets have been pumping the last couple of days. This is the question. Do we think that 2024 will be also like 2023? And I want to show you a couple charts here. Take a look at our top bubble assets, something like a Bitcoin. This is real, guys, up year to date, 156%. Had a fantastic year. You guys can see it right there. It is currently trading at about 42,500. So if you got in at 15, you can write in the comments and you can brag to all of us that you are awesome. And yes, you are. I can see it myself, guys. And also Tesla, another bubble asset, up 128% in 2023. So I had a great year. The question is, though, is that can it do it again in 2024? If you go up 128%, are you effectively going to double again? If you take a look at the prior charts, I'm going to look at sort of pull back a bit here. Bitcoin is currently 33% down from its all-time high. It reached its peak on November 12th, 2021. Tesla, in the same time frame, which is actually really interesting, November 5th, 2021 also hit its peak, and it's down currently 38%. And so will these things return to the all-time high in 2024? I think it's going to be tough because, again, it's already gone up so much this year, but is still down. But this is the bet, right? Is can you lower rates? Can you start printing money? Are you going to be burning money? What are you doing? Essentially, what got us in this situation is that quantitative easing and that too much free money essentially really drove up inflation is what we've been seeing. And this is the balance for the Fed is how can you bring inflation down without bringing employment up too much and keep everybody happy. And moreover, this is an election year. It is a real thing. So I question kind of everything, and I want to show you some more headlines as you guys will go through these things. And moreover, I am experienced with this kind of stuff, and I encourage you to check out my book, Positive Angle. If you need some sort of positive news going on, not just the craziness in the markets, check it out. And I think it's a great Christmas present for yourself or for someone else. Moreover, this is my favorite headline of the day. Powell brings tequila to Wall Street's rate cut party. So I'm more of a wine drinker myself, but I guess tequila works. And will the punch bowl be coming back? We'll be back to the printing and the low interest rates, etc. Now, this is something I want to talk about when talking about inflation is that I see these kind of headlines, and we're talking about baseball here because I think this definitely relates to our discussion. Shohei Otani, so he used to play for the Angels. He just signed with the Dodgers for $700 million. It's really a lot. I think I'm crazy, or I think they're crazy. I think we're all crazy if anyone thinks this is a good deal for 10 years. Moreover, if you don't know anything about Shohei, he's 29 years old. I was really good at fantasy baseball when I used to play this stuff. I used to collect baseball cards and follow these things. Effectively, usually you peak out in baseball when you're 27, 28. So we could say 29 is his peak, but regardless, you're paying for another 10 years when this is his peak right now, meaning the best he's ever going to be is right now. And he just had, I think he had like a Tommy John surgery, and he's a great player. I don't want to say like he's bad or anything. Just his peak is right now, and you're paying top dollar for a player who's probably going to be in decline. And this is kind of crazy, but they're betting on essentially that people are going to be buying jerseys and such. And my question is, with what money? Now, here's the thing that's really interesting. And this is, again, the discussion of inflation. So Otani got a 10-year deal for $700 million. That's the biggest in MLB history. The prior big deal was his actually teammate, Mike Trout, got a deal for 12 years for $426 million. I read somewhere, and you could do a quick calculation, but I think it's like over 40% increase. It's absolutely insane. Moreover, and I hope you guys understand how this relates to inflation. We're talking about wages, prices, and all this stuff. Is I guess theoretically he's going to be selling tons and tons of jerseys. That's more than Messi, more than Ronaldo, and they're expecting it to happen for a really long time. And moreover, this is actually part where we're talking about pricing and inflation. Dodger tickets double after they signed him. So there's all these people out there that want to pay a bunch of money to see this guy. And moreover, if you want to see him standing room only, so right, seat not included, $900. And the question is like, who's paying these prices? And Am I crazy to think that this is too expensive? This is sort of what we're talking about when we're saying, okay, should the Fed be cutting? Should we give more free money to people? But like, what does that do to inflation, right? Moreover, this is the key story which I want to show you. I understand that a lot of people are going to be focusing on Fed rate cuts and that kind of stuff, but there's another story that came out of Investopedia, which is really interesting. I'll read the headlines to you guys, and I want to show you some numbers and see what you think. The American dream has a price tag most people can't afford. Moreover, look at this one. Today's parents have to pay $3.4 million to fund the American dream for themselves and their kids. And this was, again, done by Americapedia. American Dream now costs $3.4 million. And then the subtitle, the classic American dream, including, so it's 2 kids, a house, and a car, costs more than most make in a lifetime. And this is the issue that I pose, and also the question I pose to you guys all the time, regardless of what the Fed says or where interest rates are, or unemployment numbers are, etc. It all depends on your particular situation. Now, according to with Investopedia, they calculated, like, if you want to have essentially the American dream, the total cost of this thing. So how they came up with the 3.4 million is really quite interesting. They calculate all these things that you're going to pay for in your life. So for example, they're saying average cost of a wedding and engagement ring is $35,800, which is, I consider to be a lot of money. Also, too, moreover, average cost of a home with mortgage and interest is $798,000, which I also consider to be a lot of money. Like when I look at these prices, I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Maybe I'm just old, and maybe these are all cheap prices, and I'm just the crazy one. But I just feel like that prices are still really, really high compared to what people make. So again, the reason what they're showing here is like total cost, because I think the average price of a home is more like in the 400 range, something like that. But when you factor in interest, this is where you get these higher costs. This is why I sort of want to talk with you guys about, like, how do we think about what things cost, and how do we think about inflation. Lifetime car purchases. Over your life, I guess you're going to be spending $271,000 on your car. This is why I always talk about how cars are effectively a big waste of money, because you got all this other stuff that you need to pay on. And I'm not saying you shouldn't buy a car at all. I'm just saying, like, you don't necessarily need to pay tons and tons of money on it, and you can pay even more than this, but this is how much you pay over a lifetime. You also have median out-of-pocket insurance. So they say, like, if you have to do a couple babies in the hospital, $5,700. Average cost of raising 2 children until age 18, $576,000. Lifetime cost of family health care insurance premium. So that's how much your health insurance is. And that's actually the biggest on this chart, which is pretty nuts. $934,000. And then you have the average lifetime cost of having a pet. So, and I don't know how many of you guys who are watching this, if you're, pet owners or not, that's $67,935. So yes, cats and dogs can be pretty expensive. Then you have college tuition. So this is for 1 year is how they calculate this. For 2 kids would be $42,070. That's again, this says average cost of college in-state tuition for 1 year, and that includes your room and board. Then you need the amount of money to retire. That takes $715,000, and then you have the average cost of a funeral. So that's just it's about $7,800. So near $8,000. So this is the cost of everything. And I'm leaving this chart up here because I think it's a fascinating one. And I pose this question to you guys: for anyone out there who's had recent experiences with, say, weddings, funerals, college, pet care, this kind of stuff, do these numbers make sense to you? Is this sort of what we're seeing out there in USA? And I'll just be honest with you guys. Last time I was in USA, I visited my family for the first time after 48 years, which I write about in my book. It's a crazy, crazy story. What's even more crazy, well, I mean, that is a crazy story, but what's even more crazier is, like, when I was seeing the prices around the USA, I just felt like things were ridiculously inflated. Every time we went to a restaurant, it just seemed like triple what it should be. That's just my opinion on these things. Plus, you had that tip and tax and all this stuff. Gas prices were high, etc. Housing prices were through the roof. And then when I look at a chart like this, that most Americans can't afford the American dream anymore, I kind of question, the whole inflation fight and whether or not it's done. Because one of the issues is that this is just real. Let's say house prices are too expensive in your neck of the woods. If you lower rates, you're effectively giving people essentially more money. You're making it easier for people to borrow money, and then it'll keep prices elevated, right? By having interest rates higher or for longer, is what they said before, it should cool the housing market. So I think this is something that we need to talk about a lot on this channel, and we'll keep having this discussion. And I think this particular chart is probably the most telling one that I've seen this year, to be perfectly frank, because it really lays it all out there for you. What's interesting though is I'm just looking at this here, just talking out loud. It doesn't necessarily include like your energy and your food costs. I'm just looking here. I mean, I guess to be fair, maybe that's kind of figured into your, say, your average amount needed to retire. But it is talking about major costs here. Yeah, and I guess to also be fair, maybe I guess you're also averaging that with, to say, costs to raise children. So I take that back. But I was just kind of looking at this, and I also asked you guys this question when you look at this chart: is there any major expenses that they left out? Because they're talking about house, car, pets, kids, funerals, weddings. I mean, trying to think if there's anything else. So that's why. And this is why we have a community together, is to talk about these kind of things and have real discussions about these things. I just think that things are too expensive right now. And even though I'm here in Korea, guys, we face the same price challenges that you do in USA. And so this is the question that I have, is that, yes, I can get it that Wall Street's celebrating that they're going to have rate cuts, etc. But I just want to have a balanced system to where people can afford to live. That's what I'm talking about here. So let's keep talking about these things. I do appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next video.